What's up, guys? What's up, guys?
What's up, guys? This is Donald Trump speaking here, and I want to show you the most fantastic aquarium ever. Check it out.
The tank was custom made by Miracle Aquariums from Canada, 84 inches long, 36 inches wide, and 30 inches tall. Armor seams, bare bottom system with an external overflow glass box. All the plumbing runs to the basement. This is how we move the tank in its final place. Just a bunch of rookies, landscapers, using basic parts, styrofoam to prop it up on each side. Thank God we didn't crack the tank. That's what we had to do at the time. It was during COVID lockdown. This is my basement sump room. So here you can see I'm feeding my tanks homemade fish food. I've had a lot of challenges with this system. It's about a year and a half old, suffering from really high nutrients, mainly nitrates. So I'm dosing vodka for that for the last 4 months, ramping it up, but I'm considering moving some of the fish, especially an orange shoulder tank, who went from about 1.5 inches to 9 inches within a year and a half. All the rock in my tank is wild rock. I've collected it for years. Mostly it's Marshall Island rock. I have some Haitian rock in there. I have some Tonga rock and Fiji rock. I built it. I wanted to do the 50-30 rule. So I had a structure that was about 40-45 inches on the left by 20 inches tall. And the other one on the side was about 20 inches long by 15 feet high. I guess that's the rule of thirds. It's a little bit harder to do in a long tank, but I'm happy with the way it looks. Miracle built the tank. It has armor seams, external overflow box, 3/4 inch glass, low iron front and sides. I have a closed loop on this system, which I will show you in a second. 2 MP60s, and the system is a bare bottom. I didn't want to use sand because I knew I wouldn't be cleaning it as frequently as I would need to keep it clean. This will be 80% small polyp stony corals and 20% LPS and soft corals. I've been in the hobby for a long time, and the one thing I always hate is having a bucket in front of the system and siphoning out detritus. I wanted a way where I could do that as long as needed without having a time limit or having to wait for a water change. So I have a permanent bucket that's hooked up to the sump that serves as an emergency drain for my overflow, and it serves as a drain to go to the sewage if I want to do a water change. Or I could just use it with a filter sock to polish the water as needed. So this is above the system. This is my plumbing. I have 4 outlets, 1 on each corner, 2 going to sea swirls, and the other one's in the back. I usually keep them closed, but it's good to have them in case I need flow in the back. Sometimes I add a hose there just to power wash the inside of the rocks. You know, this feature has allowed me to not ever have to use a turkey baster. And if I need to in the future when the corals are growing, I could always just add a PVC, add an extra nozzle wherever there's dead spots. But right now, these 2 sea swirls have about 1,400 gallons per hour coming out of them at max. It's way too powerful to have it angled down towards the corals because I put these adductors on there, so I'm getting a ton of flow. Here's an example right there. I'm using Gen 5 Radion Pro and 4 strips of T5. I have a UV sterilizer hooked up to the closed loop back here. I put on a piece of wood so I could easily take it out. Here's under the tank. I just put a board right there, battery backup, using Ecotech Vectra L1 for the closed loop. This is above the canopy. I still have to finish it. 2 different circuits dedicated for this aquarium, one on the right, one on the left. I have all my lights on a heavy duty sliding track, so I could pull it out to change a T5 bulbs or just to clean it. You know, if I could go back, I would have redone the plumbing from the basement. But since it's hard to get back there, I ended up putting this 2-inch trap, as you see in the middle. It looks pretty ugly, but I get a lot more flow from the basement because it's a 12-foot head pressure. I wish I could have it run two inches all the way up, and then I'll have a splitter with about 2 or 3 1-inch pipes. I think that would have definitely been better, but right now I'm probably getting about 1,500 gallons per hour from a 6,000 gallon pump. I just can't get back there and do the plumbing the way I'd want to. Here's a closed loop inlet, Ecotech Vectra. And here's my manifold. You know, I thought about this before I set up the tank, and I'm glad I did. I get better performance from the UV plumbing directly to the tank. I've tried to run it from my basement, but it doesn't do as good of a job. I like the Ecotech because the closed loop mode. During the day, I could have it at higher flow. At nighttime, I have it on reef crest mode, maybe like 70-80%. For a few hours, I keep it really low. Now here's the bucket I was talking about, permanent bucket. This goes directly into my sump, or with a few valve changes, it goes to my sewage. This is an example of me using that bucket. So I have a stick with a hose, and I'm just removing as much detritus from the behind the rocks and in the rock as possible. And this is the hose that's going into the sump, into a filter sock. So the good part is I don't have to sit there and babysit the hose. You know, I could just let it run. And once I'm done, I just take that out. All that water goes directly into the sump, and I could just put it right in the bucket, and I'm done. No mess, no drops, no problems. This video was taken in December of 2023, and the nitrates in this system are about 300 parts per million. But there's no algae growing in there, you know, because I have about 10 really large turbo snails, 2 really big urchins, and 2 top crown snails. And they've gotten really large in the 1.5 years since I've had them. So I'm thinking about maybe moving them because I believe they are actually contributing to the high nitrates. I also think the rock that I used, that was live rock from the ocean, even though it looked clean, it was nice and white. I bleached a few pieces, but the majority of them were not cured at all. They definitely increased the nutrients, but overfeeding the fish, everything. You know, I figured I could just do a few water changes, get the nitrates back under control, but it's not that simple. Phosphates, very easy to get under control pretty fast with GFO or lanthanum chloride. I use lanthanum chloride. I wasn't paying attention to the nitrates, and unfortunately didn't test nitrates for like 6 months, and then I realized my salifers test kits, they were off the charts. So I was really reluctant to carbon dose using vodka, but I went to reef, asked a lot of people, did a lot of research, and decided that carbon dosing was probably the best bet for me. Here's my return. That's a coupler that I use. That's the best way I could hook it up right now. So I'd like to get back there, but I'm not trying to deal with all that. Here's a board for the right side. Very clean and simple under the stand. All the light mounting is above the stand and the canopy. So I'm one that's really worried about keeping any outlets near salt water. So when I design this system, I try to be safe as possible. Keep all the outlets away from any water body. Here's my clownfish eggs. Don't know if you can see it. A little bit hard to get a good shot of that. Yeah, they just host the back wall, so I just put a hammer in there, so maybe they will host that, but they're laying eggs like every few weeks, and I feel bad because the big snails always end up in that spot. This is the basement, 240-gallon poly sump. I wanted something that was really easy to get to and good maintenance. Here's the 2 pipes that come from the overflow. I just have a simple pre-filter sponge in a bucket. I was running filter socks, but they get clogged really fast with slime from the carbon dosing with vodka, and I couldn't even get them clean. So this works good. This is a 5-gallon bucket that my skimmers skim to. That's about a day and a half, 2 days of skimmate. There's my remote sand bed under that bucket. Reef octopus skimmer, that's a 10-inch. I think it's a super reef octopus with a bubble blaster. Thinking I need to get a bigger skimmer. This is my satellite tank. So this is where I start putting frags. MP40 running that. That's a manifold. Don't really use it. And this is the attachment that goes upstairs. So if I turn one of those valves and another valve, it goes to the sewage. Or I just hook up a filter sock with that chain right there. And that's what collects all the detritus. This is the sewage. So anytime I do a 100-gallon water change, I just tape off about 9 to 10 inches from the system, drain it out, then I'm good. This is the rest of the basement. This is my quarantine system. Everything that comes into my tank goes through a really, really long quarantine process. Here's my dosing lines. Currently dosing phosphates with an Ecotech Versa pump. Dosing vodka with a hydros doser. I have everything wrapped away in these, I don't know what they're called, these wire holders. Here's some chains, great for filter socks. Just pop one right there. You got a continuous siphon from the system down. No worries. I'm really proud of this plumbing job right here. I mean, it ensures if I want to make a water change, I don't have to, struggle at all. Now here's my frag tank. Don't have much in here right now. I just set it up. This is probably about a month and a half old. I think I'm running too much light there. Even at like 30%, I think it's too much. This is my electronics. Everything stapled up there. These are Gen 4 Radions. This is a quarantine system for inverts. There's one turbo snell in there. I'm actually trying to get rid of him. This is my control board. And it's also support for my system upstairs. I think it's about 6,000 pounds supported on these wood beams. So I did joist them up. Sister joist all the joists. Hydros controller. This MP40 is a controller. Outlets up top. And here's a joist. Steel stand, all supported on a joist or a beam. I'm not relying on 3/4 inch plywood, but I did add a second piece of plywood up there, so it's 1.5 inches thick. This is just a container which I used to fill up 30 gallons, and I just drain it into this bucket and then add some kalkwasser. This supplements calcium and alkalinity to my system. Currently I'm running about 10,000 mLs a day, and I keep it away from the system so I don't get no splashings anywhere around the system. This is my quarantine. I have about 18 new acros in there. They've been there for about a month. And I'm not running too much light on here. Just one Ecotech Gen 4. This is where I mount all the controllers and stuff. This Inkbird has been running for 8 years and it runs really well. This is a really simple system, just gravity fed container with water for automatic top off. Live rock in there. That's very mature, it's covered in sponges. I have GFO reactor right there. If I notice the phosphates go up, I just turn it on. But right now they're bottoming out. RO system is pretty much running to all the containers. This is where I do all my work. Fragging, cleaning, testing, whatever it is, I do it right here. This is a box with just fragging supplies. Yeah, a bunch of junk, need to clear it out. Frag plugs. RO membranes, carbon blocks, and stuff like that. Just miscellaneous items, zip ties, vinegar. Here's my RO system, dehumidifier, shelving where I put all my junk, chemicals, GFO, Trace Color Pro that's like 6 years old, copper test, reagent, potassium that I never use, Trace Color, bioactive elements that I never use, phosphates that I use, sodium hydroxide that I started using, filter socks, tools. Now back here, bunch of toys. I'm trying to get rid of them. This is my air exchanger. Chasing pH is real, guys. Yep. You know, it's definitely helped increase my pH, but I think I messed up with the insulation. I should have separated the inlet and outlet more, and it's close to a dryer vent. So anytime the dryer's on, it's just going right into the air exchanger inlet. So shout out to Perea for making such a great pump. I mean, 160 watts moving 6,000 gallons per hour is impressive. I think it's about half of what another pump at that range would do. And I think it was under 200 bucks for the pump. And the electricity saving is so big. And the price point is so good that I have a spare on hand in case this one breaks, but it doesn't fail. You know, it's been running for a while and it just built really well. In the future, when I do hook up more systems down here, I'm probably just gonna run Perea pumps on a closed loop. They're actually really quiet too. Besides the vibration.
But there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Now I'm gonna eat some ice cream. This big bowl of ice cream with a lot of whipped cream.
5 minutes later.